By now, most of us can agree that you should be using AI somewhere in your business. That debate is moot at this point. What I find more interesting and where I don't see enough honest conversation is in how you use it to represent everything that you have worked so hard to build. There is a big difference between using AI to make your business run cleaner and using it in a way that slowly dissolves your brand equity. Smaller brands and creators are increasingly looking at AI as a way to save money that they would otherwise be pouring into a design or copy team. For some, it seems like a really smart play. Like you can move more media more quickly and saturate your channels. I get this, especially if you are bootstrapped or time poor. Doing more with less is not just some slogan, it is actually the survival of the company. It may be the very difference between being out of business or scaling into the years ahead. My issue isn't that you're using AI. My issue is what the misuse of it could be doing to your brand's image and how people view you against all the other alternatives that they have at their disposal. I am not here to tell you to turn it off. I use it myself pretty well on the daily for a number of tasks. I just want you to see where you can use it smarter, to take some notes from the playbooks of the bigger players, and to be clear on what people are actually seeing and how that's training them to think about your brand. When you put content out there that was clearly AI generated, your audience doesn't see a cool design so much as they are more likely to see a corner that was cut. Even with untrained eyes, they see and feel what looks templated, what looks fake, and what doesn't. When you zoom out, most small brands and big brands are not using AI in the same way. They're both using it a lot, but there's a big difference in how they're leveraging the tools. We see smaller brands are out here putting it more on the face of the brand with things like visuals, copy, and content, while most bigger brands are tucking it behind the scenes into the systems and customer experience in a way that's very intentional, where they're not trying to necessarily hide altogether that they're using it, but they're being intentional about where they let it show up with their brand. That gap, that difference in where AI is allowed to live is the AI trap that I want to walk you through. So let's define what I mean by AI trap. The trap is not, oh my gosh, you touched AI, therefore your brand is completely ruined. The trap is that you quietly move AI into jobs that it was never actually meant to hold. Maybe it's because you're tired, under resourced, or just trying to catch up, but the market doesn't know any of that. For a lot of small brands right now, that looks like letting AI decide the overall aesthetic, letting it generate your brand kit like straight out of the box, maybe letting it write the bulk of your captions, emails, and blog posts, or letting it crank out these faceless, interchangeable pieces of content just to fill the slots. On paper, in QuickBooks, whatever, it might look totally efficient. But in practice, you have just handed your taste and your judgment to a tool that's optimized for average at best. The very things AI is the fastest at are also the things that make it the most generic. So then your feed starts to look like everybody else's. It has the same composition, the same washed out gradients, the same 5 tips carousels that could belong to any coach, any agency, or any brand in your category. It's not that the pieces themselves are always objectively terrible. That's not the point of it at all. It's that they are weightless. There's no spine, no tension, no sense of the common villain or what you're out to help your people overcome. There's no signal that a real person actually sat with it long enough to decide what it was even supposed to mean. I can't even tell you how many times I've read sentences and statements that were written like they were meant to sound impactful, they were meant to sound cool. And when you break it down, you're like, what is it even trying to say? Meanwhile, people are over here on this other side of your content getting more and more sensitive to this, not less. They are learning to spot what feels AI driven just like that. And even with a very untrained eye, they are literally turning down AI in their feeds where platforms give them the option to do so because they're tired of scrolling through what people are calling AI slop or things that just feel so freaking artificial all around them. So the trap then is in trying to look bigger, trying to look more polished with AI, but then accidentally training the brand to feel smaller, safer, flatter, more interchangeable, easier to ignore, harder to recognize or differentiate from anybody else, because the tool that's been put in charge of the exact places that you need to be the most intentional and most seen is giving people the same old junk that is giving them exactly what it's so easy for them to scroll past. So, this is where I want you to get a beat on how most big brands are actually using AI. Let's contrast all of what we're seeing here with how they're actually putting it into practice. I will tell you, they are not sitting in rooms saying, oh, cool, let's have AI redo the logo, rewrite the brand story, and overhaul our ad campaign. Most of them already paid the price for clarity. They have invested heavily in a defined positioning, visual systems, and rules that help to safeguard the brand, guardrails for the tone and the voice, the messaging, the words that they use, the words that they don't use, a clear sense of where the equity actually lives in their brand. So when they bring AI in, they are asking a totally different set of questions. They're looking at, how can this help us to see patterns faster? How can it support our teams in delivering a smoother customer experience? Where can we automate without touching what people have already come to love and trust about our brand? On the ground, that looks like maybe AI helping with forecasting and inventory so they're not overproducing. Maybe it's AI sitting inside personalization engines to serve more relevant offers and content to their audience, but not in a way that is generic and void of humanity. AI could be supporting customer service, handling simpler questions like in routing tickets so that humans can spend more time and energy on complex, high touch interactions with the customers. I'm sure you've noted it many a times over when you've seen companies even misuse that part of it, where the customer service is like virtually impossible to get in touch with because it's all been replaced by AI. We don't want to do that. We don't want to use AI in a way that removes the human connection. We want to use it in a way that makes room for more of it. So, looking at all this, and we're looking at how the bigger players are actually leveraging these tools, we see that it gets to live more in the structure, but not in the soul. When these companies do bring it in closer to the front of the brand, it's most always should be under very tight direction. The human team gets to define the idea, the story, the creative boundaries. AI maybe gets to help explore variations, generate options, or speed up production. It is rarely, if ever, deciding who the brand actually is or making the final call on content and other things before they go out. They're also paying attention to trust signals. They have seen so much backlash against sloppy AI use. They've watched AI heavy ads that get defaced and people completely freaking tearing it apart when they see these big companies that they've known to for so long. They've come to love and trust them for so long. And all of a sudden they're releasing something that looks like they just totally cut all the corners, had AI do it, and it's void of soul. People do not love that. They are looking for less AI as part of their daily experience. We might be all looking to leverage it in ways to streamline things. I know everybody's using it right now, but if we're being honest in the type of things we actually want to put before our eyes, that we actually want to lean into, that we actually feel compelled towards and drawn into, it's not the stuff that looks like it has no soul. It's not the stuff that was, hey, look what I had AI make for you, right? Like, put a little bit of effort into it. Effort signaling is a very real thing these days because people are so fed up with people just serving them AI crap. So here you see bigger brands are using AI, but they're treating it as a force multiplier. They're keeping it behind the scenes so that they can also safeguard what has carried the brand's equity for decades. You don't have to have their big budgets to borrow that instinct. We see here that we're in a time where small brands are taken off. I'm telling you, I'm seeing so much happening in the space of personal brands and small brands where there is a really great future that is coming into play with what is evolving in the marketplace. I really think that small brands are going to become total powerhouses if the plays are made right as we move through the next few years. With that, we also have to understand that just by virtue of time in the game, name, exposure, and all of these things that smaller brands run a bigger risk when it comes to using AI on the front end. I get it. You don't have a bench of strategists and designers. It might just be you and a VA and a freelancer or a small team. And in that, AI can feel like the only thing standing between you and burnout. You're being told right now that the game is all about volume. You got to post every day, be on every platform, turn everything into everything. And then AI says, like, hey, no problem. I can do that. I've got you. But you have to understand that you're still forming your positioning and your look in real time. You're writing as you go, designing as you go, testing as you go, developing your brand real time in front of a live market. So when you point AI at the brand, it doesn't even really have a strong system to plug into because that's all still coming about. It's all still evolving. It ends up becoming this de facto strategist, copywriter, and art director all by default. That is how you end up with brands that are technically more consistent, which is not a bad thing, right? Having the same colors, same voice, same structure, yet feeling eerily like the same brand you saw in five other accounts this morning. People are having a hard time of distinguishing you as they should be able to from all the other alternatives. A global brand can eat a season of misaligned creative and recover because they have an underlying brand equity that is deep. You don't have that luxury yet. So the question for you isn't, should I act like an enterprise brand? The question is more, what can I learn from the way they are containing AI and how can I apply that at my own scale? There is a right and a wrong way to use AI without cheapening your brand. So let's talk about how you can actually do this with your company. If you're still watching, I want you to leave with a very practical filter. One, decide what is human led no matter what. So pick one of these areas that AI does not get to run point for your company. For most small brands, I'd recommend your core brand story and positioning, your flagship or deep dive content, the stuff that you actually want to be known for, maybe even your primary visual identity, like your logo, core mark, and the basic look and feel of your brand. If we can hit all of those, by all means, let's. AI can sit around those things. It can help you explore and refine and repurpose your concepts, but the core thinking and the final call needs to stay human. So write that down for yourself. Literally write out, these are the things AI does not get to run point on in my brand. Number two, I want you to move AI to the back end first. Before you let AI touch the face of your brand, push it to the back end and use it to do things like sifting through customer feedback, reviews, DMs, maybe use it to summarize patterns or refine workflows. Use it to organize and synthesize your ideas in your own notes, right? Like I am a big proponent of writing messy. I love getting everything out, doing a massive brain dump, hitting all the points that I want to cover, at least as much as I can think of in that moment, and then using it to organize and tidy up my thoughts before moving things into draft. You can also use it to turn long form pieces into smaller pieces that you can then repurpose across different platforms. I'll do this a lot when it comes to video content. I typically start with recording what I'm going to be posting to my podcast, sharing on YouTube, and then I extract the transcript and use AI to help me get in draft a blog post and other bits of micro content that I can use across other platforms to build on the whole. That's not saying it's going straight out the door as it gives it back to me. It just allows me to reshape it in a way that's more suited for the platform or the context that I'm going to be using it in so I can start to reshape the messaging and dial it in myself. See, using it that way, AI is then supporting your thinking instead of replacing it. And that is a big thing there. We don't want it doing the thinking for you. You're freaking brilliant. And as much as it's considered artificial intelligence, I've seen it crank out some stuff that's pretty dang stupid. It can get some good things right, but it can also get things stupid freaking wrong. And that is not how you want your brand to show up. So lean into and trust the expertise that you have to bring. Maybe use it to polish things up, but do not use it to replace you. Number three, I want you to treat AI more like a sketchbook and less like your brand Bible. On the design side of things, let AI be a place where you play with ideas, explore mood and direction, maybe rough in a layout or generate quick mock-ups that you can use to test an idea before you've poured hours into something that ultimately isn't going to work. Then I want you to stop and look at it and honestly ask yourself, does this look like us? Does this look authentic to who we are? Or does it look like the same old stuff that the internet thinks a professional brand should look like? If the honest answer is the second one, you know that you have more work to do. So let's get to it. Number four, audit your front door templates. Take an hour and audit your presence like a total stranger. Look at maybe the last 20 or 30 posts, pop onto your social and hit that scroll just as if you were scrolling somebody else's page. Look at your home page or your about page. Maybe look at your most recent emails or your lead magnet. Then ask yourself, how much of this feels like it could have been made for any other business that does what I do? Or does it look like something that I custom created for the people I serve? Where do I actually show up? Where does my company actually show up in the voice, the stories, or the point of view? What parts of it feel like a template that just happen to have our name or our logo on it versus something that we intentionally spoke into in crafting something of real value for the people it was intended for? So I want you to pick one area from that audit and decide that this is where I'm going to reinsert more of me over the next month. We're going to polish this up and make it legit to you so that it's something that is proprietary and unique and your people can't wait to get their hands on. Number five, write a one sentence AI policy for your brand. And yes, I mean, even if you're the only person in your company, put a line in the sand. This could be something like AI supports our operations and ideas, but humans get to decide our identity and how we show up in the market. It might say AI can help with the volume, but humans own anything that defines who we are or how the market sees us. Maybe it could be that if it touches a trust factor, that a human is going to lead the way. I know this may sound simple, may even feel silly doing it, but having that sentence written down gives you something to check against before you let some AI model make a brand level decision that could totally negatively impact the results of your company. I don't want to see that happen to you. I want to see you continue to grow. I want to see you win. And this is how we're going to do it. Right. So here's what I need you to leave with. The problem here is not the use of AI. The problem is using it in a way where it's quietly sliding into roles that it was never meant to hold. Most small brands are putting that AI in the front of the brand because that's where they feel the most pressure with having content, visuals, and a sense of polish in a highly competitive market. Most big brands, though, are parking that AI behind the brand because that's where the leverage is and the risk is lower. You may not have their budget, but you can borrow that discipline. Let AI handle the heavy lifting in the background, helping you with research, organization, repurposing, and operations. Let it help you to make your business sharper, but draw a hard line around the parts of your brand that are supposed to carry your signal, your story, your point of view, and your core look. Those don't need to be perfect. They do need to be yours. Again, I am not anti AI. I am not anti tool. I'm just anti hollow brand. And that's only because I care about you and I want to see you win. I'm so proud of everything that you do by showing up in the game of entrepreneurship. It is not for the faint of heart. Yet here you are. You keep doing it. I just don't want to see what's meant to be a really helpful tool end up being an obstacle for you. So use every tool available to you. Just don't hand your identity to something that doesn't truly know you, doesn't really care about you, and will happily make you look like everyone else. If this landed and you feel like AI has maybe been doing a little bit more of the driving than you'd like, you don't have to burn it all down. Just start with that one sentence policy, then audit one surface of your brand, and then move one thing back into human hands. That right there is how you step out of the trap without stepping out of the future. If you found this helpful, be sure to hit that subscribe button to catch more on building a brand and business you love.